Some people are not afraid of failure. They are afraid of rejection. Not the event itself, but the feeling that follows. The moment when a look changes, a voice becomes colder, or silence appears where acceptance once was. For some people, rejection feels much stronger than it seems to others. A small criticism can stay in the mind for days. A negative reaction can echo long after the moment has passed. The mind replays the situation, searching, analyzing, trying to understand what went wrong. This reaction is often misunderstood. From the outside, it may look like sensitivity or insecurity, but very often, it is something deeper. The mind is trying to avoid a familiar pain, because for some people, rejection was not just uncomfortable. It was something that shaped the emotional environment they grew up in. In certain environments, acceptance is fragile. Approval may come and go quickly. Love may feel conditional. A mistake may bring disappointment. A disagreement may bring distance. And in those moments, the mind learns something important. Pay attention. Be careful. Avoid doing something that could cause rejection. The brain becomes very skilled at reading signals. A change in tone, a small pause in conversation, a subtle shift in expression. All of it becomes information. All of it becomes data the mind uses to prevent emotional danger. Over time, this awareness becomes a pattern. The person becomes more careful, more attentive, more cautious with words and actions. They may avoid certain situations, avoid expressing opinions, avoid asking for things they need, not because they lack ideas, not because they lack strength, but because somewhere deep inside, the mind remembers the cost of rejection. The silent archetype of the fear of rejection is not weakness. It is adaptation. It is the mind trying to maintain connection, trying to maintain safety, trying to maintain belonging. But the challenge appears later in life, because the mind continues using the same strategy even when the environment has changed, even when rejection is no longer dangerous, even when disagreement is simply part of human interaction. The mind still reacts, still protects, still tries to prevent something that once felt painful. But awareness changes something important. When you recognize the pattern, you begin to see when the fear appears. You notice the hesitation. You notice the moment you stop yourself from speaking. You notice the moment you shrink your presence to avoid possible rejection. And slowly, something begins to shift, because the mind starts to understand something new. Not every rejection is danger. Not every disagreement is abandonment. Sometimes rejection is simply difference. And sometimes the real freedom begins when the mind realizes it no longer needs to prevent everything. The silent archetype of the fear of rejection was once trying to protect connection. But connection that requires constant self-protection is not true safety. And sometimes the next pattern that grows from this fear is another strategy, trying to keep everyone happy.